Welcome to the Lekole podcast series, Learners as Co-Creators of Their Own Learning. In today's podcast episode, I, Kristín Jónsdóttir, a teacher at the University of Iceland, I will speak with Björgvin Ívar Guðbrandsson, a teacher on lower secondary level and developmental leader in a compulsory school in Reykjavík. We will talk about co-creation and interdisciplinarity. The purpose of this episode is to learn more about his view on co-creation and to identify practice that may support teachers and teaching in other contexts. Björgvin Ívar shares some insights about how co-creation is intertwined with team teaching and with students' responsibility for their own learning. We hope you enjoy the episode. Björgvin Ívar, what do co-creation look like in your context? I mean, if I visit your class on a regular school day and I meet you there with a group of 14 to 15 years old students, how will students' everyday's co-creation look like?
You would probably see students in study groups working together or individually on projects. The student would be using all sorts of equipment, books, iPads, maybe pencils, paper. You would see teachers, probably more than one, having discussion with students, helping them out maybe, explaining something to them. If you would arrive in the beginning of class, you would probably see like one teacher with a group of students going over what we are doing today. But when the class really starts, then you see doors open between classrooms and the students would have access to more teachers.
Björgvin Ívar, you and your team focuses on interdisciplinarity between subjects instead of teaching each subject separately. Do you think interdisciplinarity is important or even a necessity for co-creation?
Interdisciplinarity gives us the opportunity to work on bigger projects, and we can also use bigger parts of the school day focusing on these bigger projects. And also we can create this team of teachers of different subjects and with different competences to help the students along the way and to help them dig deeper on whatever they're focusing on. So I would say the interdisciplinarity gives us time, it gives us more teachers to work on bigger projects with the students. So
can you give me an example like many students everywhere in Europe are working when they're 14 or 15, they're learning about the Second World War. Can you give us an example from how I would see that in your class or classes?
You would see the students of the whole school year, maybe they're usually divided into 4 classes, but they would be all there working on different types of projects connected to this theme, the World War. You would see maybe in the beginning some of the students working on creative writing, maybe putting themselves in the shoes of someone that was experiencing something in the World War. You could see another student expressing something he was reading about by making a painting or a cartoon. You would see students writing a script for some kind of tutorial or educational material on certain things connected to maybe the equipment or the design of technology that came along with the World War. So you would see students working on all sorts of different things connected to this theme. But then maybe later on you would see the students standing in front of each other, telling the other students about what they were focusing on, you would maybe see students sitting together, making a podcast as we are doing now, talking about the things, different things they were focusing on during the learning period.
How long is the period?
The themes are like for 2 to maybe the biggest ones 4 weeks.
So the students work from different perspectives on the Second World War for maybe 2, 3, even 4 weeks. And what happens in the end? How do you bring it all together in the end?
If the projects and the work of the students are something that we would like to exhibit to maybe parents, then we would invite them to school to see what the students were doing. Sometimes we do it internally. They show what they've been working on to other students and to us, the teachers. Sometimes we put it online and have some sort of exhibition. We always have, like in the end, we have also individual interview. Every student speaks to one of the teachers about what he was learning, what he found was most exciting of what he was learning.
So the evaluation is also creative.
Yeah, and embedded, and individual, based on this interview. We start doing these interviews or talks with the students while they're still working maybe on some final details of the projects.
That's interesting.
Yes.
What about educational technology? How important is the use of digital tools, for example, for the co-creational process?
Yeah, we, like in the environment I'm working in, teaching in, we have all the students with their own iPad, which means we use a lot of digital tools in our work. And this technology, this use of technology gives us access to information, a lot of information, and it gives us opportunities to work with this information in all sorts of ways. The students can work in all sorts of ways individually and also in cooperation with other students and the teachers. And it gives us the opportunity to be creative, and we can create in ways we couldn't even imagine we could create in a few years ago, in the school environment at least. For example, we can create films and videos, we can record music and podcasts, and we can draw and design, and we can make 3D prints and use all sort of cutting machinery to make things we couldn't even dream about a few years ago.
Yeah.
It was all possible a few years ago, but you had to have very expensive equipment. Now this technology is in our hands, and we can learn together with the students to use it in the best possible way.
That's an interesting point, that the educational technology is part of the co-creational process.
Definitely.
Yeah, but I can hear you mention your co-teachers as often as your students, and you say we, and you refer both to teachers and students. Is team teaching a necessity for interdisciplinarity teaching?
Yeah, I think it's a really, really, really important thing, because I, as many teachers, used to be a little bit alone in my teaching. I had my specific subject I was teaching, and I was with my group of students, and I was making things and working by myself. The minute I started working every single day with a team of teachers, with more time to make new educational processes for the student, we started to make much bigger and better things, because we had instead of one mind, we had 8 minds sitting by the table, having ideas, picking out ideas from each other, developing ideas, and the team we are so much more than just the teacher of our subject. We have all sorts of interest. We have learned a lot of things through our interest through the years. So maybe we had in the first team we created, we had a teacher that taught the Icelandic language. She is avid nature explorer, but she never could put that in use when we were talking about the environment in biology, for example. So when we got this team together and we kind of began to cross the disciplinaries, then all sorts of interesting things happened, and we got much bigger and better ideas on how we could maybe go with our students down that route or way.
What do you think co-creation of the learning process entails or demands?
I think the key to co-creation is to create environment where students are working on whatever they're working on, either individually or together with other students. And the teacher is in the position in the environment where he can have discussion with the students about what they're doing and how they can develop their projects, and maybe having discussion about the learning objectives, maybe about the curriculum and what we are supposed to be learning, and if there's something that the students wants to be better at, and maybe give him ideas on how he can develop the project so he can try out new things and try out things that he wants to be better at doing. So I think the co-creation is about the environment, not necessarily only the physical environment, but also how we are in the environment and how we react to each other and how we make opportunities to speak about what we're doing.
So to sum up, what are the keys to co-creation?
The first point would be the autonomy of the team of teachers, so they can be autonomous in creating the educational processes and developing the environment. The second would be the interdisciplinarity, because I believe it can arouse student interests and open their eyes to maybe new interest through what they're already interested in. The third one would be having the teacher and the students having this discussion about the student work and how the student can develop it. That for me means that we are co-creating the learning experience for the student, and hopefully, which would be my fourth point, that would make the student take more responsibility for their own learning.
Yeah, you have mentioned 4 very important key concepts, and it's certainly interesting that when you talk about the co-creation, you're always talking of the learners both being the students and the teachers. It's intertwined. Both groups are learning during the way. But maybe final question to you, Björgvin Ívar. How do you do it? How do you feel or find your way in facilitating co-creation in your context? How do you support your students and co-teachers? Are you a role model, or are you the strong leader, or how do you do it?
I guess maybe a little bit a role model, because I do a lot of the things I teach, of course, but mostly I think I'm a facilitator. I meet with my team every day, and I meet with students every day, and then I take on whatever has to be done to make the team's ideas happen and the students' ideas happen. That's a lot of work too. You have to facilitate so the student can make their ideas reality. And I expect, and in my experience, the other members of the team do the same. We all have ideas, and we take on different paths to make the ideas happen.
Yeah,
and we try to facilitate.
You like to make things happen. So, if you think of it like personally, is co-creation an important concept in your personal life and career?
Yeah, I would definitely say so. I work on it with my lower secondary students and my team of teachers, and I take every opportunity I get to talk about things like creative use of technology, co-teaching, interdisciplinarity in education, both with teachers working on the field all over Iceland, and also in my work at the university with the next generation of teachers, of course. So yes, co-creation is a very important concept in my life.
Thank you so much, Björgvin Ívar Guðbrandsson, for this short but meaningful discussion. And to you listeners, we hope that you have been enjoying this podcast episode. The Leikskóli podcast is funded by the Erasmus Plus program and is a collaborative project working to explore the experience and best practices of partner countries in supporting active engagement of learning in planning, implementation and evaluation of the learning processes, for learners to become co-creators of their own learning with collaborative learning process. The project is coordinated by the National Center for Education in Latvia, with partners from Marino Institute of Education in Ireland, Education Development Center in Latvia, the Ministry of Education and Science in Portugal, the European Education and Learning Institute situated in Greece, and the University of Iceland, that is in Iceland, of course. And if you'd like to learn more about the Leikskóli project, visit our website, and it's connected to our website at the School of Education, University of Iceland. A full transcript of this interview with Björgvin Ívar Guðbrandsson, a developmental leader in co-creation in Iceland, is available in English, Portuguese, Latvian, Icelandic and Greek, along with support materials for anyone interested in co-creation. We hope you'll join us for the next podcast episode to hear more about co-creation in education.